Have you ever felt like the cleaning in your home never truly ends? You wipe down the table and then the floor's a mess. You finish folding laundry and suddenly toys are scattered everywhere again. Every time you try to tidy up, it feels like stepping into a maze. You don't know where to start, what to prioritize, and eventually, you give up because it's just too much. I know that feeling all too well. I've stood in the middle of my house looking around in defeat. Not because I'm lazy, but because there's just so much, and my brain never stops spinning with things I haven't done yet. But recently I tried something different. A simple method that actually helped me feel more in control. Instead of tidying based on emotion, I started following a clear plan. And the best part, I genuinely saw results after just one day. It's called the 1-3-5 method. And in today's video, I'll walk you through exactly how I used it, what I chose to tackle, how I broke up my time, and what the results looked like by the end of the day. If you're also looking for a way out of that cycle of always tidying but never feeling done, this might be a calm place to start. So let's not waste any more time, let's jump in. Before we dive in, let me quickly explain what this method is, because I know 1-3-5 might sound a bit vague at first. The 1-3-5 method is a simple way to reduce overwhelm when it comes to tidying up. Instead of trying to do everything, you break your day into 3 levels of tasks, one big task. This is your main focus for the day. Not the whole house, just one meaningful area like a closet, the kitchen counter, or that one spot that's been bothering you. 3 medium tasks. These are smaller but still require some attention. Think of things like sorting one drawer, dropping off donations, or clearing a shelf. 5 tiny tasks. These are the super quick wins. Those little things you've been putting off: filing papers, tossing out broken items, putting something back where it belongs. Each one takes just a few minutes, but makes a noticeable difference. What's great is that you get to decide what feels big or small depending on your life and energy level that day. The beauty of this method is that everything has a clear start and finish. You're not bouncing between tasks or wondering, what should I do next? The plan is set and your brain can rest a little. For my main task of the day, I chose something that felt substantial, but not overwhelming. Decluttering a closet space that had slowly become a catch-all zone. You know, the kind where things get tucked away just for now and somehow stay there for months. Why did I pick this as my big task? It had a clear boundary: one space, one goal. I knew it would give me a noticeable result without taking all day. And most importantly, I'd been avoiding it for a while, so it felt like the right time. I didn't overthink it. I just took everything out, laid it out so I could see what I was dealing with, and started asking simple questions. Do I still use this? Is it in good condition? Would I even notice if this were gone? If something didn't get a clear yes, it went in the donate or discard pile. The entire process took about 10 minutes, and I was surprised by how much space I cleared and how much lighter I felt after. It was the kind of task that doesn't seem like much when you describe it, but the mental shift it brings is real. And that's the beauty of choosing one meaningful task for the day. It gives you momentum without draining all your energy. With the big task done, I shifted to 3 smaller but still meaningful areas. The kind of spaces that quietly collect clutter when you're not paying attention. Task 1. Recycling leftover craft materials. I had a small pile of craft odds and ends, unfinished projects, scraps I thought I might use someday, and bits that were honestly just taking up space. Instead of over-sorting, I made a quick decision: keep only what I know I'll use in the next month. The rest went straight into the recycling bin. It felt like lifting a weight I didn't realize I was carrying. Task 2. Refreshing a drawer. Next, I chose a drawer that hadn't been touched in a while, one of those that's not messy but might be hiding a few forgotten items. I gave myself 5 minutes and just went through it with fresh eyes. No full emptying, no big reorganization, just a glance and decide process. What I found surprised me: duplicates I didn't realize I had, things I thought were lost, a couple of items I didn't even remember owning. It was a quiet reminder that clutter doesn't always scream for attention. Sometimes it's just sitting there quietly taking up space physically and mentally. And when we don't check in with these spaces every so often, we forget what we've already got and start feeling like we're always behind or missing something. Clearing even one drawer helped me reconnect with my space and with what I actually need. It wasn't just about clearing space, it reminded me of what I already have, so I'm less likely to buy things I don't need. Task 3. Letting go of something outdated. Finally, I dealt with something I had been holding on to out of habit, not because I needed it or even liked it anymore, but simply because it had been around for a while. It had quietly become part of the background. Sometimes we keep things not out of usefulness, but because we've never stopped to ask, why is this still here? That was exactly the case for this item. It no longer served any purpose. It didn't suit my space, and honestly, I wouldn't miss it. The moment I gave myself permission to let it go, it felt easy. No guilt, no second guessing. I put it straight into the donation pile and moved on lighter both physically and mentally. These 3 medium tasks didn't take much time, but together they gave me a sense of progress and control. I wasn't aiming for perfection, just clarity. By the time I reached the final part of the 1-3-5 method, I was already feeling more grounded. But the beauty of the 5 tiny tasks is that they're not meant to be intense. They're the low-hanging fruit, the forgotten corners, the little annoyances that pile up quietly until they become background stress. Here's what I chose. 1. Put away leftover supplies. There were still a few leftover party supplies sitting around folded gift bags. Ribbon I planned to reuse and decorations I hadn't put away yet. It wasn't a mess, just a quiet little corner of delay. But here's the thing. Even when clutter is small, your brain still registers it. Every time I walked past that pile, there was a little voice in the back of my head going, "You still haven't dealt with that." It wasn't loud or urgent, just constant. And that's what low-level clutter does. It doesn't always overwhelm you outright, but it drains you in the background. Like having 10 tiny open loops in your mind that never fully close. So I decided to close one of them. I gave myself just 5 minutes, pulled out a small bin, and simply returned everything to its proper place. Nothing fancy, no organizing overhaul, just put it back where it goes. And when I closed that cabinet door, something shifted. Not just in the room, but in me. The space looked more complete, less in limbo, and my brain felt like it could finally move on. Sometimes the power of a tiny task isn't in how long it takes, but in how much mental weight it quietly lifts. 2. File a small stack of papers. Papers are sneaky. They don't scream for attention the way a pile of laundry or a sink full of dishes does. They just sit there quietly, politely, until one day you realize that small stack of envelopes, receipts, random notes, and printouts has turned into a source of stress you can't quite name. For me, paper clutter doesn't just take up space. It takes up mental bandwidth. I've come to realize that every unprocessed paper is like an unresolved decision. Each one whispers something. Do I need to pay this? Should I file that? Am I supposed to do something with this form? And just like open tabs in a browser, those questions stay running in the background, draining focus even when you're not consciously thinking about them. So instead of letting it grow again, I made it a tiny task. I gave myself 10 quiet minutes, sat down at the table, and faced the pile. I didn't try to overhaul my whole filing system or color code anything. I just made 3 quick categories. Keep and file, handle soon, recycle immediately. No perfection, just progress. Just movement. And honestly, the moment I took the last piece off the stack, I could feel my shoulders drop. My desk looked clearer, but more importantly, my mind felt clearer. There was no more visual reminder of things I hadn't dealt with, just a calm, open surface. And sometimes that's all it takes to shift the energy in a room and in your day. 3. Gather items to donate. There's something deeply satisfying about knowing that what no longer serves you could be exactly what someone else needs. Donating isn't just about clearing shelves, it's about letting items move on to a second life somewhere they'll actually be appreciated or used. For a while, I'd had a small stack of books sitting quietly in a reusable bag near my desk. I'd already read them. I wasn't planning to read them again, and yet I hadn't moved them. They were in that strange category of not needed but not gone. And I think we all have things like that, items waiting for someday when we'll feel more ready or more motivated or less busy. But someday rarely arrives on its own, so I created it. I decided today is the day. I added a few other items that had been lingering in limbo, things I hadn't used in ages, but had been hesitant to part with. I didn't overthink it. I just gathered, zipped up the bag, and placed it right by the door where it couldn't be ignored. And honestly, that moment felt like a release. Because what I was really clearing wasn't just the physical clutter, it was the mental load of indecision. That nagging feeling of I should really deal with that. Once the decision was made, that quiet tension disappeared. Letting go with intention always creates space, not just on shelves, but in your mind. 4. Contain scattered materials. Sometimes clutter doesn't look chaotic, it just looks scattered. There were bits of creative supplies drifting across my workspace, glue sticks on one shelf, a few markers in a drawer they didn't belong in a notebook that had somehow migrated to the corner of my desk. Nothing looked messy, technically, but the more I glanced around, the more I felt distracted, like my space had lost its purpose. And here's the thing, scattered items might not demand attention, but they steal it anyway. Each one is a tiny mental interruption. So instead of diving into a full-on organizing session, which honestly wasn't necessary, I reached for a simple empty bin. One by one, I gathered every item that didn't have a clear home or immediate use and placed it inside. Then I slid the bin into a nearby cabinet, where I knew I could access it later when I actually needed those supplies. No labels, no sorting by color or type, just one clean action: contain it. And it's amazing how powerful that one move was. My desk felt open again, my thoughts felt more focused, and the space reminded me of what it's actually for: creating, not storing. Sometimes we think decluttering has to mean throwing things out, but often it's just about giving things a boundary. That alone can bring back the calm. 5. Return items to their place. The final step was a simple 5-minute room reset, nothing fancy but surprisingly powerful. I slowly walked around the space and asked myself one quiet question. Does this item live here? Not should I keep this? Or is this useful? Just is this where it belongs? If the answer was no, it got moved. There was a coffee mug I'd left on a shelf, a scarf casually draped over the back of a chair, a few objects that had slowly migrated from one room to another, landing in this space without intention. None of it was a big deal, but that's exactly the point. Clutter doesn't always come from chaos. Often it comes from delay, from items that didn't get put back in the moment and slowly became part of the background noise. So I took a few minutes and gently reversed the drift. Each item went back to its rightful place: the kitchen, the closet, the drawer it came from. No stress, no need to reorganize anything, just a quiet course correction. And it's incredible how even this small act made the space feel settled, like everything had taken a breath and relaxed. Because when every item is where it's meant to be, not necessarily hidden, not perfectly styled, just placed with intention, the room doesn't just look calmer, it feels calmer. And so do you. Some days my home wasn't actually messy, but my mind absolutely was. I started noticing that the feeling of nothing is ever done often came from the invisible clutter, the half-remembered to-dos swirling around in my head. Call the appliance repair guy. Find that warranty. Remind my daughter to return her library book. Tiny tasks, none of them urgent, but together they quietly drained my focus. So I began doing one simple thing every evening, grabbing a piece of paper and writing down every open loop, anything unfinished, undecided, or lingering in the back of my mind. No order, no perfection. Just out of my brain and onto the page. Here's what surprised me: I didn't need to finish all of them to feel relief. Just seeing them written down, real and contained, gave my brain permission to relax. The benefit: you stop using your mind as a storage closet, and that alone creates space for rest. Not all clutter is chaotic. Sometimes it's silent. I used to have a large framed print above our couch. It matched the colors of the room. Guests often complimented it. But every time I looked at it, I felt nothing. No joy, no calm, no connection. Just a decorative object filling a space. One afternoon while dusting, I paused and asked myself, do I actually like this? The answer was no. So I took it down. I didn't replace it right away. I just let the wall sit empty for a while. And to my surprise, the whole room felt softer, lighter, like it had finally exhaled. The benefit. When your home reflects what you truly connect with, not just what fits it becomes more than tidy. It becomes nurturing. So that was my first try using the 1-3-5 method. And honestly, it shifted more than just the clutter. It reminded me that I don't need a full weekend, a perfect plan, or a wave of motivation to make real progress. I just need small, clear actions. And permission to let good enough be enough. Sometimes the hardest part of decluttering isn't the physical stuff, it's the mental pressure of trying to do it all. But when you break it down like this, everything feels a little lighter, a little more doable, a little more human. If you've been feeling stuck or not sure where to start, I hope this gave you a gentle nudge, or at least a bit of breathing room. And if you're looking for even simpler ways to keep your space feeling calm, the next video I'm sharing walks through small daily habits, just 1 minute at a time, that help keep clutter from creeping back in. Nothing dramatic, nothing time-consuming. Just quiet, steady shifts that add up. So whenever you're ready, I'll meet you over there. And until then, take a deep breath and be proud of what you've already done. You're further along than you think.